Welcome back to the Spend 10K a Day podcast. I'm Stuart Anderson, the Chief Marketing Officer here at Mute6.
Steve Weiss, I'm the CEO. Welcome back. Another talk about Facebook ads. Another area of Facebook we're going to be exploring today. This podcast is totally dedicated to audience testing.
Yep.
Find the right audience for your product, understanding how to come up with messaging for the top of the funnel, what the top of the funnel means, what the mid funnel means, and what the bottom of the funnel means. Setting up your messaging around specific audience segments that you're going to be marketing to.
Yeah, very, very important. I mean, honestly, obviously a lot of attention gets paid to the creative, on the advertising side. But I mean, if you don't have the right audiences, and I mean the right audiences, your ad campaigns are doomed to fail.
So before we go into it, as you guys probably know, you guys probably are some of you might be experienced Facebook marketers, others are rather brand new. There's quick information on the type of audiences on Facebook. You have your precise interest audiences, which is I'm targeting somebody who's liked a page. This is kind of the old school way of marketing on Facebook. You have your WCA audiences, which are your website custom audiences, which is I visited your website and I'm going to get remarketed with an ad, or I just visited your website and I'm going to build a lookalike of this audience. But WCA is website custom audience. You have your lookalike audiences, which is, Facebook creating a set of audience that's very similar to a specific audience that already exists, aka lookalike. Then you have your email audiences, which are email lists that you upload into Facebook and building audiences off those. So those are the four core audience types. I mean, there's other audiences which are very what we call open audiences of people who just live in Beverly Hills or people who just live in San Francisco. But for more intense purposes, those are the four main audiences that you're going to be targeting on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Steve, talk to me a little bit more about how you like to first approach building audiences, like for a new campaign. Like if you're a completely new client or you're starting a new project, what are your first things that you're doing building audiences?
So if the campaign has no history, but they have a lot of website traffic, the first thing I like to do is I like to build a lookalike off, the people who visit your website, but also the people who visit your shopping cart. I like to build a lookalike of people who visit your shopping cart but don't convert. Then I also like to build a lookalike around people who've purchased your product.
Yeah.
That goes along with building a website custom audience around people who visit the shopping cart, people who purchased, and people who just been to the website.
Yeah. Really, really important ones. And obviously some of the testing you do between those gets, when you're really sophisticated, you start, seeing tweaks there that you might not expect. But, another good source that I found, and Facebook has some good tools in there, and there's some other, good tools out there for syncing audiences is like email lists. So depending on what email provider, I think they have a direct connection with MailChimp, for sending custom audience data over, but you can also use your email list as a custom audience source as well.
So remember, for Facebook to connect a user to Facebook, they have to be logged in to Facebook at the time of making a purchase. Not everyone is logged into Facebook when making a purchase. Most are, but what you really want to do is you want to both upload the email list along with building a website custom audience, just in case that person is not logged into Facebook.
Definitely.
So three pillars of our audience segmentation strategy is separating our audiences into different buckets. There's the top of the funnel, there's the mid funnel, and there's the bottom of funnel. Each audience that we're marketing to falls into one of these areas of one of these funnels. And the funnels dictates the type of ad units for those audiences. So usually when you're doing top of funnel, aka prospecting, you want to use a lookalike audience and you want to exclude all your current users or people who visited your website, people who've purchased. You want to exclude those users because you want them to get a custom ad, because you want to bring them into the funnel.
Yeah, I think one of the things I usually tell people when they ask me about prospecting, about building those top of funnel audiences, I think a really good takeaway is the lookalike audiences you use for your prospecting should essentially, the sources of those should be your actual audiences from the bottom of funnel stuff. So if you're targeting people, for example, who have purchased and you're trying to upsell, or they have added to their cart but they haven't bought, those are perfect bottom funnel audiences, and you should be building lookalikes off of those and then using the lookalikes top of funnel. That's a really great way to get started with lookalikes.
Yep, and also you could build lookalikes based on percentages. I'm sure you saw this in Facebook where you could build lookalikes 1% and look all the way up to lookalikes 10%. So what lookalikes 1% means, it's the most exact people to your audience. So lookalikes 1% is Facebook saying that, I'm going to build a lookalike to the best percentage of your audience. Then if you want a bigger audience, they have lookalikes 10%, which is, kind of the farthest, not the most exact, but still kind of close to who your audience is. AKA user point. I upload an email list of 10,000 people. I could build a lookalike 1%, which is Facebook saying the most exact we have of who looks like these audiences. Then 10%, the most, not the most, targeted list of people that look like this. So what you always want to do when you build lookalikes, you also want to exclude, your lookalikes 1% from your lookalikes 10%, because you don't want to be targeting the same people.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. A lot of people forget that when they're building lookalikes. A lot of people think that when you're building lookalikes, you're like, all right, here, I'm done. That's good. Create a lookalike audience off of this other audience. I'm ready to go. You have to remember to, make sure there's not overlap in your audiences, because, lookalikes are big, especially when you're doing a 10% one. It's a lot of people.
Exactly. So our segmentation strategy, high level, is splitting people off into different funnels and then targeting users based on where they are in the funnel. So obviously, people will get moved between different audiences. So when we target high prospecting, we exclude all of our WCAs, all of our email lists. Mid-funnel, you might want to exclude just the buyers, just people who bought the product. You don't want to exclude people who visit the website because they haven't bought the product already.
Yeah. And I mean, there's marketers have different opinions about, what the right size is for, creating lookalikes. The source audience. Some people say it's, as low as a few hundred. Some people say it's 1,000. Some people say it's 5,000. Steve, what do you think? What is the kind of the best number to say, hey, this is probably a big enough audience to build a good lookalike off of?
For email, you need at least 10,000.
Yeah.
For website, for people visiting your website, or for transactions, you need at least 1,000. For if you want sales of a specific product. For website, you need at least 20,000 users that Facebook is cooking. Anything else is just not statistically relevant. So I like to just say that's the early on the smaller amounts, but you could build it off of anything, really. So I'd say just starting there is probably the best point. Just start off with try and get 1,000 people purchasing, try and get 10,000 email list, or 20,000 people on your website.
Definitely. I think we've gotten, a pretty good read on lookalike audiences. One thing I found as well, and Steve, you've probably used this a lot in your campaigns, when you're testing lookalike audiences, especially when you're spending at scale, spending a lot of money, and one little tweak here or there can make a big difference. Sometimes what you would expect to be a really effective audience, like a lookalike based off of purchasers, sometimes you're not getting the right balance of volume and CPA. I don't know about you guys out there, but sometimes you might want to try, testing that against a lookalike audience based off of people who've added to cart. Sometimes, for whatever reason, it could be Facebook's algorithm, it could be who is composing that source audience. But sometimes I actually get better results using a lookalike off of add to cart versus purchases.
So remember one thing, Facebook is never going to tell you how they build lookalike audiences and what variables. We don't know, one of the biggest factors of serving ads, and this is the reason why Facebook is so difficult to optimize sometimes, because a lot of your success is based upon people being on Facebook to see an ad.
Yeah.
So even if, both the add to cart audience and the regular lookalike are very similar, you're going to see different conversion results because some people are online and other people aren't.
Yeah. I think the rule of thumb here is, as always with advertising, it's test, analyze, and optimize. See what's working, test a bunch of different things out, figure out what the data is, and then just continuously improve.
Exactly. So we talked a little about lookalikes. We talked a little about setting up your funnel. Mid funnel is targeting users. Just how we do audience testing. Top of funnel, mid funnel, bottom of funnel. We target mostly users who haven't purchased with a unique piece of content. mid-funnel. Then bottom of funnel, we're usually targeting both people who have already purchased and both people who have already visited the website with a purely direct response focused ad to make an action. Some type of scarcity mindset, just something that will try and get a user to make an action. And then we're always split testing different segmentations of audiences, both on prospecting, both on website custom audiences, and both of our buyer audiences. So, just remember, there's no, you could break the rules here. You could be very, very creative in figuring out which lookalike to build. Build lookalikes of your email list. Build lookalikes of your fan. If you have a large fan base on Facebook, you could build a lookalike of your fan base. And you could even exclude all your fans, if you want to get totally new users coming into your funnel. This is the best part about Facebook is you're able to be really creative with your audience testing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think there's a lot of information here that people can go off. I think, building on your last point, you're never really done figuring out audiences on Facebook. It's just, there's so many different combinations. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, feel free to email us. Questions@mute6.com. You can email Steve and I directly. We love talking about this stuff. We're always trying to learn, what everybody else out there is testing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of information. Don't want to overwhelm you guys, but feel free to email us, questions@mute6.com. We will reply with a very educated answer.
Have a good one.
Thank you.